Welcome everyone. I'm excited to welcome you to today's presentation. Today, we will be exploring Surah Alaq, a very significant chapter from the Quran. This is part of our ongoing series on continuous learning and development. Over the next few minutes, we'll dive into the meaning, context, and lessons of Surah Alaq. So, let's get started and discover the insights this surah has to offer. Today, we begin by exploring the early moments of Prophet Muhammad's prophethood and the first revelation of the Quran. Imam Ahmed narrates that Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, described how the initial signs of revelation appeared to the messenger of Allah. He started experiencing dreams that would come true, much like the clear light of dawn in the morning. These dreams were a significant sign, signaling the beginning of his spiritual journey. As time went on, seclusion became very dear to him. He would retreat to the cave of Hira, dedicating himself to worship and reflection for several nights at a time. He would bring provisions with him, and after his retreat, he would return to Khadijah, replenishing his supplies for the next period of seclusion. This dedicated approach prepared him for what was to come. Then one night, while he was in the cave of Hira, the revelation suddenly descended upon him. The angel appeared and commanded him, "Read." But Prophet Muhammad responded, "I am not one who reads." This moment was intense. Imagine the pressure and the fear he must have felt. The angel pressed him repeatedly until he was overwhelmed, then released him and urged him again, "Read." This time, Prophet Muhammad replied, "I am not one who reads." But the angel persisted, pressing him again. Eventually, the angel recited the first words of the Quran, "Read, in the name of your Lord who created." This marks a pivotal moment, the beginning of the divine revelation, which would change the course of history. It emphasizes the importance of seeking knowledge with humility and recognizing the Creator as the source of all knowledge. In this slide, we see a pivotal moment in the Prophet Muhammad's life. After experiencing the terrifying vision, he returned home with his heart trembling, overwhelmed by what he had seen. He told Khadijah, wrap me up," and she comforted him by wrapping him until his fear subsided. He then shared with her everything that had happened, expressing his fears that something might happen to him. Khadijah's response was full of reassurance and faith. She told him, "Never. By Allah, Allah will never disgrace you." She highlighted his good qualities, maintaining good relations with relatives, speaking the truth, helping the poor, serving guests generously, and aiding those in need, as signs of his virtue and righteousness. Khadijah then took him to her cousin, Waraka bin Nawfal. Waraka was an elderly man who had become a Christian during the period of ignorance. Despite his blindness, he was knowledgeable about scriptures, having written parts of the Injil in Arabic from Hebrew. Khadijah's visit was significant because she wanted Waraka to hear her nephew's story. When Waraka listened, he recognized the description of a divine revelation, what he called an-namus, a divine spirit sent to prophets like Musa. He expressed a wish to be young again so he could witness the time when Muhammad's people might drive him out, indicating his understanding of the potential challenges ahead. Muhammad, curious and perhaps worried, asked if they would indeed drive him out, revealing the beginning of understanding the difficult path that lay ahead. Now let's take a closer look at the beginning of man's creation as described in the Quran. The slide references ayat from Surah Alaq, which highlights that humans originate from a small, seemingly insignificant thing, a dangling clot. This imagery beautifully emphasizes the humble beginnings of human life. The term alaq is quite rich in meaning. It can refer to a clinging substance, which signifies how a fertilized egg attaches itself to the uterus. It also means a clot of congealed blood, illustrating the early stages of embryonic development. Additionally, it describes a leech-like structure, which might evoke the idea of something that clings tightly and draws sustenance, much like how the embryo develops. What's truly remarkable here is how the Quran describes that humans are created from this clot, highlighting the intricate and delicate process of human development. This verse, 96:2, reminds us of the extraordinary process that begins inside the womb, emphasizing both the complexity and the miracle of creation. Connecting this to our broader theme, it underscores the importance of reflecting on the divine wisdom and precision involved in human creation. It invites us to appreciate the profound complexity of life, from its very inception. Today's slide highlights a fundamental aspect of our faith and learning journey, which is the concept of Allah's boundless generosity. The slide begins with a reminder that this knowledge and these teachings are protected by Copyright 2025 by continuous learning development, emphasizing our ongoing commitment to growth. The key point here is that everything we have, our knowledge, our abilities, and even our opportunities, are blessings from Allah's generosity. It's a humbling reminder that we should always be grateful for these gifts. The verse read, "And your Lord is the most generous," from Surah Alaq 96:3, underscores the importance of seeking knowledge. Allah commands us to read, to learn, and to grow spiritually and intellectually, and he pairs this command with a reminder of his generosity. This connection is crucial. It teaches us that the act of seeking knowledge is itself a form of worship and gratitude. When we read and learn, we acknowledge Allah's generosity and his role as the most generous, which should inspire us to be more dedicated and grateful in our pursuit of knowledge. Overall, this slide reminds us that knowledge is a divine gift, and our responsibility is to use it wisely and humbly, recognizing the generosity of our Creator in every step of our learning journey. Today, I want to highlight a very important aspect of human development, the gift of knowledge. As the slide shows, in 2025, we recognize the continuous learning and development that shapes us. He taught man the use of the pen. This signifies how knowledge was passed down through writing, a powerful tool for preserving and sharing information. Because of this, Allah exalted and honored man by granting him knowledge. This is a key point. Knowledge elevates us and distinguishes us from other creatures. It's important to understand that this dignity was given to Adam, the father of humanity, and it set him apart from the angels. This shows how knowledge is intertwined with our identity and honor. Now, knowledge isn't just one thing. It can be in the mind, spoken aloud, or written down, sometimes with the fingers, as in writing. So it's intellectual, spoken, and written, different modes of expressing and sharing what we learn. And of course, the verse 96:4 reminds us, who taught by the pen. It emphasizes that divine guidance and human effort combined through the act of writing and learning have been central to our growth. So, as we reflect on this, it underscores the importance of acquiring, sharing, and valuing knowledge as a core part of our dignity and progress. Today, I want to highlight a powerful concept that reminds us of the divine role in human knowledge. Allah SWT, or Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, taught humans things that they did not know on their own. It emphasizes that all knowledge ultimately originates from him. When we look at the verse from Surah Alaq, verse 5, it clearly states that Allah taught humanity what they did not know. This is a crucial point because it shows that our ability to learn, discover, and understand is a gift from Allah SWT. This idea connects deeply to the overall theme of continuous learning and development. It reminds us that no matter how much we know, there is always more to learn from divine guidance. It encourages humility, recognizing that our knowledge is limited and that seeking knowledge is a form of worship. So, as we progress in our personal and professional growth, let's remember that our capacity to learn is a blessing from Allah, and it's our responsibility to seek knowledge with sincerity and humility. Today, I want to highlight a powerful verse from the Quran that reveals how Allah describes human nature. It says that man is very pleased with himself, but at the same time, he can be the most evil, the most scornful, and transgressive. What this means is that humans often feel proud and satisfied with their own achievements or possessions, but we also have a tendency toward arrogance and wrongdoing. The verse emphasizes that many people exceed all bounds, meaning they go beyond what is acceptable or moral. This idea connects to the overall theme of self-awareness and humility, reminding us that despite our strengths, we must be cautious of our faults. Recognizing these tendencies helps us stay humble and strive for better behavior, aligning with the teachings of Islam about self-improvement and accountability. Today, I want to talk about a common pitfall that can lead us astray: transgressing, or crossing boundaries, when we start to believe we're completely self-sufficient and have an abundance of wealth. It's a subtle shift in mindset that can be very dangerous. When we think we don't need anyone else, we might become prideful or overly confident. This attitude can cause us to overlook our dependencies, our limitations, and the importance of humility. The key point here is that once we start to see ourselves as entirely self-sufficient, we are more likely to stray from the right path. This idea is emphasized in the verse from 96:7, which reminds us that such a mindset is a form of transgression. It's not just about material wealth, but also about spiritual and emotional independence. This concept ties into the overall theme of humility and reliance on a higher power. Recognizing that we are not truly independent, that we need guidance, support, and grace, helps us stay grounded. So the message is clear. Beware of the trap of self-sufficiency, because it can lead us away from humility and the true path. As we look at this slide, it reminds us that ultimately, our journey and return are to Allah alone. Everything we do, especially concerning our wealth, is under His watchful eye. The verse emphasizes that Allah will hold us accountable for where we obtained our wealth and how we chose to spend it. This underscores the importance of being mindful and responsible about our financial choices. It's a reminder that our efforts and resources are part of our test in this life. And no matter how busy or distracted we may be, the ultimate return is to Allah, as mentioned in the verse. So, it's a call to align our actions with our faith, knowing that our accountability is certain and ultimately, our destination is with Him. Let's take a moment to reflect on this verse. Have you seen him who prevents? This verse was revealed about Abu Jahl, may Allah curse him. He was known for threatening the Prophet when he was performing Salah at the Kaaba. What's important here is how Allah responds to such arrogance and opposition. Instead of addressing him directly with harsh words, Allah first admonishes him with what is better, reminding us to approach conflicts with wisdom and patience. This verse is a powerful reminder of the importance of humility and the danger of arrogance, especially when it leads to hindering others from practicing their faith. It connects to our overall theme of perseverance and standing firm in the face of opposition, trusting that Allah's guidance is always the better way. Now let's look at this powerful verse from the Quran, Surah Alaq, verse 10. Allah begins by addressing the attitude of those who prevent others from worship and righteousness. He uses the phrase, "Do you think this man whom you are preventing is upon the straight path in his action?" This question is quite profound because it challenges us to reflect on our judgments of others. It's a reminder that we should be cautious before accusing or obstructing someone who is engaging in acts of worship, like prayer. Allah refers to this person as a servant of ours, emphasizing that every worshiper is under Allah's care and guidance. The key point here is the importance of humility and recognizing that guidance ultimately comes from Allah, not from our actions or judgments. This ties into the overall theme of the presentation, encouraging us to foster a compassionate and understanding approach towards others, faith and actions, rather than hastily condemning them. So, as we move forward, let's remember that our role is to support and encourage, not to judge or hinder the spiritual journey of others. Let's take a moment to reflect on the meaning behind this quote. It asks us to consider, do you think the man you are preventing from doing good is truly on the right path in his actions? This invites us to think about our judgments and assumptions. Now, the verse continues with a thought-provoking question. What if this servant, this individual, is actually rightly guided? This challenges us to keep an open mind and remember that guidance is ultimately in the hands of Allah. Throughout our journey of learning and personal development, it's important to recognize that we cannot always see the full picture. Sometimes, what appears to be wrong might actually be right in the eyes of Allah. So, as part of our overall theme today, embracing humility and patience, we must be cautious about rushing to judge others. Instead, we should focus on our own path and trust that Allah's guidance is perfect. Let's take a closer look at this verse from Surah At-Tawbah, verse 96-12. It highlights an interesting contrast in how people respond to righteousness. The verse mentions that taqwa, or God consciousness, is enjoined in his statements. That means he's encouraged to be mindful of his duties to God and to speak rightly. However, the same person might face rebuke or even threats when it comes to his prayers. This raises an important question. Does this reaction discourage righteousness, or does it reflect a misunderstanding of what true righteousness entails? The key point here is that sometimes society or even individuals may oppose acts of piety, either out of ignorance or prejudice. But as believers, our goal is to remain steadfast and continue encouraging righteousness, regardless of opposition. Ultimately, this verse reminds us that promoting taqwa and righteousness is a continuous effort, and we should not be deterred by negative reactions. Instead, we should stay committed to doing what is right, trusting that Allah guides those who sincerely seek his pleasure. This connects to our overall theme of perseverance in faith and the importance of maintaining our moral compass, even when faced with challenges. Now, let's consider a very important aspect of faith and its relationship with belief in Islam. What happens if someone refuses to accept true faith and instead chooses to turn away from Islam altogether? This is a situation that raises significant questions about the consequences of persistent denial. In the Quran, specifically in Surah Alaq, verse 13, Allah asks, "What if that man persists in denial and turns away?" This highlights that, despite the guidance and opportunities to believe, some individuals may choose to reject it and disconnect from their faith. It's crucial to understand that this persistence in denial has serious implications. It reminds us that faith is a personal journey, but it also involves accountability. The verse encourages reflection on the importance of sincere belief and the consequences of turning away from it. Throughout this presentation, we've been emphasizing the importance of belief, trust, and commitment in our spiritual journey. This point underlines that, while Allah is merciful, there are boundaries when it comes to rejecting the truth after it has been made clear. So, as we think about the overall theme, developing a genuine, steadfast connection with our faith, remember that persistence in denial can lead to serious spiritual consequences. It's a reminder for us to nurture our belief sincerely and to be mindful of the importance of turning toward the truth, rather than turning away from it. When we look at this slide, what stands out is the reminder that Allah is always watching. It prompts us to reflect on a common situation. Someone might be preventing another person from following the right guidance. But do they realize that Allah sees their actions and hears their words? This is a powerful point. No matter what people do in secret or in public, Allah's knowledge is complete. And more than that, He will compensate each person fully for what they do. So, the key message here is about awareness, being mindful that Allah's omnipresence influences everything. It ties into the overall theme of accountability and the importance of acting rightly because Allah sees everything. The verse from Surah Alaq 96:14 reminds us that Allah sees all, and this should inspire us to act justly and sincerely, knowing that nothing escapes His notice. Let's look at this quote from 96:15, which really emphasizes the importance of humility and willingness to change. The key point here is that if someone refuses to recant or change their stubborn ways, there are serious consequences. The phrase, "drag him by the forelock," is quite vivid. It suggests a forceful intervention to bring someone back on the right path. This highlights that persistence in discord and obstinacy can lead to a loss of control over one's own situation. In the context of our overall theme, it reminds us that stubbornness without humility can be dangerous. Sometimes, it takes a firm reminder or intervention to guide someone toward the right course. It underscores the importance of being receptive to correction and change, rather than clinging to discord. So ultimately, this slide is about the balance between standing firm and knowing when to step back and reconsider, especially before it leads to more severe consequences. All right, let's look at this important message. The slide states that in 2025, by the grace of continuous learning and development, we aim to make a significant impact. The phrase, "Indeed, we will make it extremely black on the day of judgment," is a powerful metaphor. It emphasizes the importance of our actions and efforts today, suggesting that what we do now will be reflected in the ultimate judgment. The reference to a lying, sinful forelock from 96:16 highlights the consequences of dishonesty and sinfulness, reminding us to stay truthful and upright in our pursuits. It's a call to be mindful of our character and integrity as we work towards our goals. Overall, this slide ties into the bigger picture of accountability and the importance of continuous improvement. It encourages us to keep pushing forward with sincerity, knowing that our efforts are ultimately part of a larger, divine evaluation. Now, moving on to slide 19, we see a powerful statement that says, meaning, the forehead of Abu Jahl is lying in its statements and sinful in its actions. This phrase highlights how arrogance and defiance can be symbolized through the imagery of the forehead, which is often associated with pride and stubbornness. Abu Jahl, as you may know, was a prominent opponent of the Prophet and a symbol of arrogance and disbelief. The slide also references a specific verse, 96:16, describing the lying, sinful forelock. This metaphor emphasizes the connection between falsehood and sinfulness, illustrating how arrogance and dishonesty are intertwined. Overall, this point reminds us that arrogance, whether in speech or actions, can lead us away from righteousness. It ties back to our overall theme of humility and sincerity in our faith. Recognizing these signs in ourselves helps us stay grounded and committed to honesty and moral integrity. On this slide, we're exploring the meaning behind the phrase, "Let him call his associates," from Surah At-Tawbah, verse 73. Essentially, it emphasizes that the Prophet Muhammad was told to invite his people and his tribe to seek help from them. The idea is that if they had called upon their allies or their supporters, they could have prevented the harm or the threats he was facing. We also look into a hadith that was recorded by various scholars like At-Tirmidhi, An-Nasai, and Ibn Jarir. This hadith describes an incident during the Prophet's prayer at the Maqam of Ibrahim. Abu Jahl, a notorious enemy of the Prophet, passed by and challenged him, saying, "Haven't I prevented you from this?" meaning from praying or worshipping. The Prophet became angry and reprimanded him, and Abu Jahl then boldly claimed that he had powerful kin in the valley who could support him. Ibn Abbas explained that if Abu Jahl had called his people, the angels of torment would have immediately seized him. This highlights the power of collective support and the importance of calling upon one's community in times of challenge. Another part of the hadith recounts Abu Jahl's hostility, where he threatened to stomp on the Prophet's neck if he saw him praying. Despite this threat, the Prophet continued praying, even when Abu Jahl tried to physically harm him. Interestingly, Abu Jahl then retreated, frightened by the presence of unseen forces, described as a ditch of fire, monsters, and wings, symbolizing divine protection. All of these stories reinforce the message that calling upon support, whether from people or divine assistance, is crucial in facing opposition. And this ties back to the verse, reminding us that strength often comes through collective effort and reliance on higher support when confronting adversity. Now, on this slide, we see a powerful reminder from Islamic teachings about the concept of divine justice and the unseen forces at play. The phrase, "and they are the angels of torment," highlights that angels are assigned to carry out God's will, including those who serve as enforcers of punishment. The phrase, "this is so that he may know who will win, our group or his group," underscores the idea that ultimately, God's knowledge and justice determine the outcome, and that humans are tested in this ongoing spiritual struggle. We also see a reference from al-Bukhari about Ibn Abbas reporting Abu Jahl's threat to stomp on Muhammad's neck if he saw him praying at the Kaaba. This shows the hostility faced by the Prophet and illustrates the intense opposition he endured. The Prophet's response, "If he does, he will be seized by the angels," emphasizes that divine protection is constantly present, even amidst hostility. It reminds us that God's angels are always ready to intervene in support of truth and righteousness. Finally, the mention of calling the wardens of hell, as referenced in the Quran 96:18, ties into the broader theme of divine justice, highlighting that there are designated beings responsible for enforcing God's judgment. All these points connect to the overall theme of divine oversight, justice, and the unseen forces that uphold moral order. It's a reminder that nothing escapes God's knowledge, and his angels are always involved in the divine plan. Let's delve into the core message of this slide. It emphasizes that, O Muhammad, you should not obey anyone who forbids you from engaging in worship and steadfastness. Instead, continue praying wherever you wish, without worry. Why? Because Allah will protect, help, and defend you against any opposition. This highlights the importance of unwavering devotion and trust in Allah's support. The slide also references a beautiful teaching from the Prophet, shared through authentic sources like Sahih Muslim. It states that the closest a servant can be to Allah is during prostration. This is a moment of utmost humility and connection. Therefore, making abundant supplications while in prostration is highly encouraged. It's a powerful way to draw near to Allah. Finally, the verse from Surah 96:19 reinforces this idea, commanding us to continue prostrating and seeking closeness to Allah, regardless of any opposition. The key takeaway here is that steadfast worship, especially during prostration, is a vital means of maintaining our connection with Allah and seeking his protection. This aligns perfectly with our overall theme of deepening our faith and reliance on Allah's mercy and support. This slide highlights the significance of the first surah revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It reminds us that Allah, Arabic seen, Arabic ba, Arabic het, Arabic Khalif, Arabic noon, Arabic ha, Arabic wow, Arabic ta, Arabic tain, Arabic Khalif, Arabic lam, Arabic Khalif Maksura, is the one who taught humans knowledge, both written and verbal, blessing us with the ability to learn and grow. We see how this surah also addresses the opposition faced by the Prophet, especially from Abu Jahl. He tried to prevent the Prophet from praying, feeling confident because he believed his strength came from the number of supporters he had. But Allah warns him sternly of the consequences, even mentioning hell as a reminder of divine justice. When Abu Jahl attempted to stop the Prophet, he was confronted with terrifying visions of monsters, showing the gravity of his evil intentions. Allah rebukes him directly for his malicious plans, emphasizing that such actions will lead to punishment, specifically, that he will be punished through his forelock, symbolizing divine retribution. Despite these challenges, Allah instructs the Prophet to continue praying and remembering him, drawing closer through prostration. This serves as a powerful message to us all. No matter the opposition, steadfastness in worship and remembrance sustains us and brings us closer to Allah. In summary, this surah teaches us about divine knowledge, the importance of perseverance in faith, and trusting Allah's justice and mercy. It reminds us that even when faced with hostility, turning to Allah and maintaining our devotion is the key to spiritual strength and success.